Hello everyone, welcome to Lockdown Sees the World. Today we talk about Taiping Rebellion and American Civil War, which happened almost at the same time, and both were very influential. From the comparison, we can see the gap between China and America in economy and military in history. After the First Opium War, China's Mandarin Qing government that levied heavy taxes to the people and for paying war reparations and the deficits due to large amount of the opium import. Meanwhile, China's door was first to open, and the foreign products poured in as a dump policy. And many of China's farmers and craftsmen got bankrupt, and a natural disaster raged and the people in great poverty. So hundreds of uprisings occurred, and hither and thither, among which the Taiping Rebellion was the largest one. The key leader of Taiping Rebellion was Hong Xiuquan, who was born in 1814 in Huaxian County, Guangdong Province. Had tried 4 times for the Imperial Civil Service examination, yet all failed. He got very disappointed and got sick for a while and decided no more for the test. He had read some Christianity pamphlets and followed an American missionary named Isaac Roberts, admiring God's heavenly kingdom. And he self-claimed as the second sign of God and the younger brother of Lord Jesus, and came to the world to wipe out the demons and lead the people for an ideal society. He preached in Guangdong and Guangxi provinces and established the Society of Worshipping God. With more disciples and influences, he finally decided to fight against the Qing government and set out his own new power. In January 1851, Hong Xiuquan gathered more than 20,000 of his followers and announced rebellion with the name of Heavenly Kingdom of Great Peace. That after 2 years, he led his great army to besiege and take over the city of Nanjing as his capital. It was recorded that he got into the city with a sedan chair carried by 28 people, and then busy in building in more palaces for himself and for his numerous concubines. He himself lived in very luxurious life as an emperor, and isolated from the soldier, from the people, and the governance. In 1856, the internal strifes took place within the Taiping Rebellion, and tens of thousands of his own generals and soldiers were killed in the purge. Since then, the Taiping Rebellion began to decline until July 1864, as their government in Nanjing was toppled, and they finished the rebellion that lasted for 14 years and crossed over 17 provinces, as one of the most influential rebellions in Chinese history. Taiping Rebellion failed because of many reasons, and one of which was that the Western powers helped the Qing government with the mercenary troops with firearms, which greatly frustrated the rebellion in military. And the first 2 leaders of the foreign mercenary troops were Americans. The first one was Frederick Ward, who came from Massachusetts to Shanghai in 1859 when he was 28 years old. He served as a first mate of a Qing government gunboat named Confucius, and then he set up the mercenary troops. He was killed in a battle against rebellion in 1862. After his death, another American, H.A. Bergevin, succeeded as a captain. And he came from North Carolina and engaged in many battles with the Taiping Rebellion. Taiping Rebellion concurred with China's Second Opium War, and in 1860, Beijing was lost and the Yuan Imperial Garden was blazed. Russia joined in the looting and took away over 1 million square kilometers territory in China's Manchuria by the Treaty of Aiguan and the Treaty of Beijing. Then we talk about the American Civil War. This war was the only civil war in American history and also the first American war in large scale. And after American Industrial Revolution, with 1 million soldiers from the South and 2.2 million from the North, resulting in total count of 600,000 soldiers. American Civil War maintained the unification of the United States and abolished the slavery system. When the war ended in 1865, the U.S. export reached $280 million and with 3 million barrels of oil output, paved the way for America's joining in world powers. Since 1820s, America began its Industrial Revolution. Until 1860, the year before the Civil War, the industrial output in the North reached $1.88 billion and number 4 of the world's largest economy, with 1.3 million workers, railroad of 22,000 miles. In comparison, it was the slave plantation in the South, with 4 million black slaves and $15.5 million output, and just 1% of the North total, and with 110,000 workers and 9,000 miles of railroad. The North advocate capitalism, the limitation or abolition of slavery, yet the South tried to spread the slavery system to the central and western states of America. In 1854, established the Republican Party, and in 1960, Abraham Lincoln, a Republican and abolitionist, was elected as the American president. And the 7 states in the South seceded from the Union. And in April 1861, South Army and attacked Fort Sumter, and then Civil War began. In the beginning, the South Army took the upper hand and often defeated the North Army, and for twice besieged the capital, Washington. The most famous general in the South was Robert Lee, who was from Virginia and graduated from West Point. He himself didn't fully support the slavery system, but he was faithful and devoted to his home state of Virginia. In the North, the most well-known general was Ulysses Grant, and then he became the 18th President of America, and his portrait was printed on the $50 paper bill. At the New Year of 1863, Lincoln proclaimed Liberation Declaration of Slaves and permitted black slaves joining the North Army. On July 1st, 1863, both the South and the North engaged in a decisive battle at Gettysburg, and the South was defeated fatally with 24,000 casualties. And the upper hand turned to the North. President Lincoln made a Gettysburg speech, one of his best, in which he mentioned American government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And a great idea and popular around the world. In September 1864, when 2 months after the failure of China's Taiping Rebellion, the North Army took over Atlanta. In April 1865, the army of Robert Lee were totally surrounded and had to surrender to General Grant. Thus ended the American Civil War. During the surrender ceremony, General Grant told Robert Lee, "The traitors became to be our country fellows, and what you have done are bound to fail, yet you are the hero of the failure. You gave up your own dignity and for all the lives of your soldiers, for which you deserve the respect of all. The North didn't penalize the South, nor listed were criminals or tried. All the soldiers killed were buried in a national cemetery. Robert Lee became the principal of the University of George Washington, and rather than put in jail. Robert Lee passed away in 1870, and many of his statues were erected in many cities. Recently, with the rise of anti-racism in America, and especially the death of George Floyd by the white policeman's enforcement, aroused the national parades and riots with advocate to remove Robert Lee's statues. This general of disputes in Civil War once again became an issue of controversy after 150 years. From Taiping Rebellion and American Civil War, we can see the gap between China and America. When Taiping Rebellion occurred, China's self-strengthening modernization had not begun, and China's society was still in a state of small-sized farming and craftsmanship. Most of the weapons in Taiping Rebellion were swords, spears, muskets, and black powder cannon. And the ships in the battle were primarily fishing boats. In 1853, when Nanjing was taken, Taiping Rebellion set up a weaponry agency for more powerful weapons. By smuggling, and some rifles could be purchased from the West. Yet generally the weapons by the rebellion were outdated and mixed up without criteria, and very close to those of the Qing government and the militants from Hunan and Anhui. During American Civil War, both sides were equipped with metal bullets and breech-loading rifles, replacing the outdated, the muzzle-loaded musket. At that time, repeating rifles and machine guns were used in a battle and demonstrated tremendously lethal. In the famous Battle of Gettysburg, the North Army defeated the Southern cavalry charges with these weapons. The North was developed in industry, and for quick building up and maneuvering, the technologies like telegraphs and railway transportation, steamboats and ironclad battleships were commonly used, and even the submarines for the first time. Some kind of similar like a modern war. The weapons and equipment in American Civil War were remarkably above the level than those in China's Taiping Rebellion and Qing's government, which also revealed the gap between China and America in social development, in technology, and national power. For sure, no matter Taiping Rebellion or American Civil War, both were domestic strifes. And both are from the same root. Why hurt each other so eager? If some issues could be solved in peace, then use of force should be avoided. In last session, we just mentioned a blood seeker, then water or interest as priority. For any time and any country, war and revolution and peace and development are all vital and prudent issues. And above is today's program, and thank you for your joining in, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, bye-bye.